Remember when the message was beautifully simple? Rates up, inflation down. Take the hit, then relief. It was basically monetary CrossFit. Pain now, gains later. You tightened spending, you delayed the renovation, you absorbed higher mortgage payments like a front rower, taking collision after collision and pretending it's all part of the plan. Jarrod Kerr has been saying the economy needs time to heal, time to stabilise, time to actually earn the recovery everyone keeps tweeting about. Now, the markets are pricing rate hikes again. Again! It feels like the final whistle is blown, the crowd is heading to the car park, and then the ref says, actually, we're going upstairs to the TMO. 10 more minutes, and somehow you are the one back on defence. Jarrod, why have OCR expectations jumped this quickly?
Well, the market has gone from pricing in the risk of another rate cut to 2% to pricing in the chance of 2 rate hikes this year. So that swing from cuts, pricing in around 2.15 to hikes pricing in around 2.75 has seen wholesale markets just pop higher. It's a little premature, if you ask me, but it's what's happened. And that low in interest rates only lasted a couple of weeks, and we've sort of bounced up a little bit. The good news is that there is data supporting this move. We have seen a lift in activity. We have seen a lift in confidence. And unfortunately, inflation's proving to be a little more stubborn than we like.
What is the RBNZ actually seeing that households aren't?
Well, they're seeing the high-frequency data that we're all looking at. They're seeing, good spending over that November, December period, although things seem to have dropped off a little bit in January. They're seeing the lift in confidence from businesses, quite a broad lift in confidence. So not just exporters, but, manufacturers and even retailers are pretty upbeat. So they're looking at all of that and they're saying to themselves, hey, look, we got policy down to a level that's actually working now.
How tight are conditions already beneath the headlines?
Well, they're not. Interest rates have lifted from that very short low that we had in sort of November, December, but they're still at levels that are stimulatory. And we're hearing that from businesses and households that, these interest rates, that everyone would like them to be lower, or all borrowers would like them to be lower. But they're at levels that work for many people.
If the markets are wrong, who absorbs the pricing error?
Well, if the market's wrong and there are no rate hikes this year or even early next year, then wholesale rates will sort of naturally drift lower. And as that happens, you'll see mortgage rates drifting lower as well. So if the market's wrong and it's too early to call for rate hikes, which I kind of agree with, then, we're not going to see interest rates rise any further, and they might even drift a little lower.
Are we mistaking stabilisation for momentum?
I think it's a bit of both. Like the labour market seems to be stabilising. I wouldn't say it's got a lot of momentum or in a big upswing. I just think it's not getting worse. And there's lots of, spending indicators and that just seem to be stabilizing. The housing market's the same. I would say the housing market's stabilizing, but is yet to gain any sort of momentum that would get us excited about price rises.
Could inflation expectations alone be enough to cause the RBNZ to react?
Not alone, but part of a suite of indicators that have either improved or are pointing to more inflation. So the lift in inflation expectations generally comes on the back of a lift of inflation itself. So if inflation lifts expectations, lift, but that's kind of out to one, 2, maybe 3 years. And then from 5 years and beyond, like when you ask people, where's inflation in 5 years' time? Where's inflation in 10 years' time? The correct answer is 2, but the answer that we're getting is like 2.3, 2.4, which is just far enough away from the Reserve Bank's, mandated target midpoint to get the Reserve Bank thinking, oh, this is not good. We don't like people thinking inflation's going to persist.
And this new Reserve Bank governor is sticking to that mandate. She's made it pretty clear.
Yeah, of course. And she has to say that she's targeting inflation because that is the mandate. And she came out and said that, I'm laser focused on inflation, as she has to be, It's like, asking a Formula One driver, are you going to focus, on speed and getting around the corners? Yes, obviously it's what I do. So she will come out with strong words around the inflation outlook because it's been a little stubborn. But she also has to recognize that this is very, very early on in the recovery.
Are banks setting mortgage rates before incomes actually recover, though?
So yeah, incomes have yet to really recover. Like I said, the labour market's stabilising, but it's not really growing at a reasonable clip yet. So businesses have stopped, reducing hours. They've stopped reducing headcount, and they're starting to hire a little bit more. But we are a ways away from that. So incomes really need to pick up this year to be part of that recovery story. We need an increase in hours worked, and we need a decrease in that unemployment rate.
If the OCR is lifted too soon, what breaks first?
Oh, look, we'll see it straight away. You'll see it in the consumer. So households will be, upset that interest rates are rising and their incomes aren't. So that's another squeeze, which would be unnecessary if done too early. So I think you'd see it in the consumer very quickly. And as that happens, you'll see businesses getting nervous as well. And we just can't afford to have that happen this year. It's unwarranted.
Westpac is predicting 3.3% growth this year. What about Kiwibank?
Yeah, we're more on the 2 to 3% this year. Look, 3.3% would be fantastic, and that would be, great if we could see that sort of bounce. And we'd love to see that, but we just think that the recovery is still very early on, and we still need to see, as you say, incomes rise, and that lift in GDP, that is the lift in incomes, and we just see it at more like 2 to 3% than over.
Because things have been so hairy the last couple of years, are you conscious that your predictions are much more conservative in 2026 with 2.2%?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good call out, because to start 2025, we were optimistic and we were saying, the second half of 2025 is going to be so much better. We're going to get, more growth. That happens, but the first half of 2025 was so much worse than we thought. We were starting off a much lower base. There was a large contraction. So we are going into this year a little bit more cautious. We are optimistic. We are saying there's going to be a rebound, but we just think it might take a little longer.
So you're saying more another year of balance sheet repair than growth?
Yeah, I think so. We need to see the recovery broaden out, and we need to see businesses engaged again, wanting to invest, wanting to hire. But with an election at the end of the year, there's still a lot of nerves out there. And I think people are hypersensitive to this election because the economy is so fragile. I think if we were growing at 3-4%, we probably would go into this election not as concerned. but businesses are really wary of, more taxes, particularly a capital gains tax, coming through if there's a change in government. And I think that they are holding back because of that.
The OCR is supposed to cool things down, not reheat anxiety. Right now, the market is acting like we are already back in the semi-final. The economy still looks like it's stretching on the sideline. You can force a player back onto the field. You just can't control how long they last. And cycles have long memories.